Hi guys, welcome back. So we're going to work on the corsets now, and these are the fabrics I will be using. Let's draft the pattern for the corsets. So first thing first, I'm going to mark my margin line. My margin line is 2 inches from the top edge of my paper and 1 inch from the left hand side of my paper. My measurements are: the front length is 17 inches, the full front length is 17. Then my underbust is 13. My bust point is 10 inches. Then I'm going to be using an armhole depth of 8.5. Okay. Then my push line, I'm going to use 1 inch. If you have been following my video, you know how I draft my patterns. So I'm going to do same thing. Now the length I'm going to be using, total length is going to be 23 inches. Though I will still reduce it, but I'm using 23 inches. Okay. I will repeat it again. 23 full length, front length, under bust 13, bust point 10. Then the armhole depth, I'm using 8.5. How did I get 8.5? I use the nap to waist divide into 2 plus 3/4 of an inch. That is how I got my 8.5. The corset armhole depth is not supposed to be that low. It's not supposed to be too low, so that you can lift up your hand. So now this is the push line. I'm using 1 inch. If you have been following me, you will know why the push line. That this is from this nap to this point is the 1 inch. 3/4 inch is the standard, but I use 1 inch for medium size, large size, and extra large sizes. Okay. Then from here to here is my nap to waist, which I divided into 2, and I add 3/4 inch to it for the armhole depth. Okay. So that is how I got those two measurements, so that you guys will not be confused. So now that we have drawn the our vertical measurements, the next thing is to apply our horizontal measurements. Now my bust, the bust I'm using is 36. 36 divided into 4 will get 9 inches, but I'm going to borrow half an inch for the front. I always say it, front is wider, so I will borrow for the front. I'll borrow half an inch for the front. So for the back, I'm going to use 8.5 inches. Okay. Now that we borrow half an inch from the back, I'm going to mark for the front, which is 9.5. So the next thing I'm going to mark now is the shoulder. The shoulder is, I'm using 15 3/4 of an inch, divide into 2. Then I'll connect. So I'll work on the back first, then we'll proceed to the front. Then the shoulder slope for the back, I'm using 3/4 of an inch, standard for everybody. That's what I use. Then I'm going to mark what we call the neck depth for the back. Normally I don't do this before, but I just started doing it. I have some little changes on my pattern. Okay. So I haven't done that. Then shoulder to neck points is 5/4. So I'll connect that to the push line. I haven't marked that. I will connect my neck circumference. So I will connect my shoulder to neck point. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to divide this into 3 to be able to connect my armhole curve. I'll connect my points. This line, I'm going to mark what we call the across back measurements. I'm sure we know that by now. And in case you don't know it, you are a newcomer. This is across back. Between the back of the armhole, this is the across back. So the across back I'm using is 14.5. So divide into 2 is 7/4. So I'll mark my 7/4 here. Okay, then I'll connect my armhole curve. So this next line that I marked, I'm going to reduce the gaping around the armhole so that our armhole will be very, at least it will close up better. I'll mark half an inch first. This half an inch is just to give more room for lacing area. To mark the half inch first, then I will divide the rest into two, which what we have now is 8 inches. So I'm going to divide that into two, which is going to give me 4 inches. I'm going to stop at the bust point. Now there are different ways of making a corset. I've done series of them on my channel. So I haven't done this now. The standard I'm going to use here, and I'm going to use 1.5 inches for my darts. I'm going to remove 1.5 inches. Then I'm going to connect it to the bust point using my curved ruler. You can use your straight ruler if you want, but I will use the curved ruler. So from the side, I'm going to move in by 1/4 inch. Then from the waistline, I'm going to move in by 3/4 inch. So I'll connect that with a straight ruler. So I haven't done this now. I'm going to let this be while I go to the front. Okay. Now for the front, from the center front, I'm going to remove half an inch from the hip line, from the waistline. Then I will connect both the waist and the hip line on the straight with the straight ruler. Okay. Before slanting it to the bust points. So you will see what I'm doing. All this is just to remove gaping from all these points. So my bust span is 8 inches, so I'm dividing it into two. That will give me 4 inches. Okay, I'll mark my 4 inches. So at the waistline and the under bust, for the bust span line, I'm going to use 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches is the standard, but that doesn't mean you cannot use 2.5, 3 inches. Okay, depending on how you know how to do better. But 1.5 inches is standard for everybody. I've used it for larger sizes, I've used it for smaller sizes, and it works. Okay, so I'll mark it on the waistline, mark it on the hip line, and I will do the same thing at the under bust. That means the 1.5 I divided into two. Then I mark both 3/4 on both sides, just as I did for the back. I'm going to connect this with a straight line. From the bust point, I'm going to move 3 inches up to create our cup. So you can make it 2 3/4 depending on the opening you want. If you still want some cleavages and some bust to be showing out, you can actually bring it down the more. So I'm going to connect this point to the bust point. Okay, so from here I'm going to move 3/4 inch up. Then I'll connect. So for the shoulder of the front, naturally you guys know I removed 1/4 inch from the back. So I'm going to mark 7.5 plus 1/8 inch. I haven't removed 1/4 inch from the back. So that's what I'm going to mark here, and I'll connect my point. Now I know some of you will be saying, why is she removing 1/4 inch? Now that is to reduce the holo at the neckline. I'm going to show you anything you, by the time we drop the shoulder slope for the front, I use 1.5 inches for the medium, 1 3/4 for large and extra large, then 1/4 for small sizes. Okay, so I'm going to connect that to the neck point. Okay, now anything you mark that you slope on a diagonal, you have increased the measurement. So if you see the measurement is close to the shoulder length that we divided, So if you have increased the normal shoulder length that you divided into two, that will be around here. So what you have is that you are increasing excess for the neck area of the front. So that's why sometimes when you make some dresses, you will be seeing that excess in the neck line of the dress you made. So you need to, that's why I reduce quarter of an inch from it. So it depends on you, whatever you do best, you can do with it. Okay, but that's how I work on my project. Okay, so the next thing, I'm going to mark my shoulder to neck point, which is 5 quarter. Then whatever is left is my neck width. Okay, so the neck width, I'm going to add 3/4 of an inch to it for my neck depth for the front. I used to use half an inch, but I've removed the half an inch from this area just to reduce excess from the round neck. Okay, so I'll connect my neck. I haven't done that now. I'm going to raise my armhole curve by dividing this into three. So that will give me about 2/4 of an inch. Okay, then I'll move in by 3/4 of an inch. Now create my armhole curve. I haven't done this now from the side. Okay, let me come to the side. I'm going to move in by 3/4 of an inch. I move in by 1/4 of an inch from the side. All this area is just to remove gaping. So I haven't done this now. So we're going to mark for the hip area. Now, the hip measurement is 40 inches. So I'm going to subtract. Remember, this is 18. 36 is the bust. I always use calculation. We divided into two. That is 18. That is both this and this is 18 inches. Okay, so now 18 and this 40 divided into 2 is 20 inches. Okay, so that is 18 minus 20 to give us minus 2, then plus this that I brought down, and this is going to make it another 2. That's minus 2. That is 2 again. So in total it makes it 4. Okay, so that 4 I'm going to divide into 3, and I'll share it between the side of the front, the side of the back, and the center of the back. Not center of the back, that is the dart line of the back. Okay, so I'm going to divide that 4 into 3. So the other one that is remaining, I will divide it into 2, and I will share it between the dart leg of the back. So I haven't done this now. I'm going to connect with my hip curve. So the next thing to do now is to mark for our cup. Now, to mark the cup, I'm going to move in from the side of the front by 2 inches at the armhole depth line and by 2 inches at the bust point. So I'm going to now connect the cup depth line, making sure my pencil touches what I have marked here. Good. So the next thing, from the bust point, I'm going to move up by 3/4 of an inch. You can move up by 1 inch or 1.5, depending on you how high you want it. From there, I'll move in by half an inch. So I'll connect those points, as you can see. Then I will connect it with the French curve. So I'm going to connect to the 3 inches we marked up. Okay. So now from the side, from the bust point, I'm going to come up by 3/4 of an inch. Okay. So I'm going to shape my cup now. But before I shaped it, now for the cup to clinch to the bust area, you know that we are supposed to remove some excess around this area. Now, to be able to remove the excess, I'm going to use a calculation, which is, now I have 9/4 here. So 9/4 minus bust span will give me 1/4. That is, the bust span is 8 inches. Then this is 9/4, so that is 9.25 minus 8 to give me 1.25. So now I'm going to distribute that 1/4, because at the armhole curve of the front, I need to reduce some excess to be able to create a very roundish armhole. Okay, we don't want the armhole to be too open. So to get that, I'm going to connect from the bust point that I marked here to the armhole. Okay, now at this line I'm going to mark, now the 1/4 I'm going to divide it into two. So 3/4 inch will go to this line. I'm going to mark 3/4 here. Then I'll connect this to the neck point area. Then I'll mark 1/2 inch there. So we have been able to eliminate the total gaping that we have around the cup. So I'll connect it this way, as you can see. Okay, then for the armhole, I'm going to make sure it touches here from the bust point. Okay, so these are the points we are going to close, but I'm not going to leave my armhole my cup like this. I'm now going to connect it this way. So the next thing I'm going to do now is, it depends. If I want my cup to be this way, I can leave it this way. This is a 2-piece cup. If you want it to be, I'm going to let it to be at 2-piece. Then later, if I decide to make it the 3-piece cup or the 2-piece cup, it depends on me. But I'm just going to share some way you can do it. So let's say I'm going to, if I want to share it into two, I'll just mark 1/3 here, 1.5 here, then 1.5 here. Okay, so I'll connect the points. So if you want it to be a 2-piece cup, you leave this upper one and the two side, you let it be like this. Okay, but if you want it to be a 3-piece cup, then I'm going to now put my curve ruler and curve it better. This is just adding extra for you guys, but I'm just going to make it a 2-piece. So I'm just going to use it a 1-2. Close up this, close up this. Okay, so I haven't done this now. So the length of the exact length I want it to be is just mark 4.5 from here. It's not going to actually touch the hip area, so 4 inches or 4.5 should be okay. But for now, I will mark 4.5 inches, or you can shape it whatever way you want it. So the next thing I need to do for the back, I've not finished. So from here, I'll move up by 3/4 inch. Then at the center back, I'll move down by 3/4 inch. So I'll connect. Okay, so now from this point to this point, I'm still going to connect this to. So guys, I will cut out the pattern and you guys will see what we have done so far. The next is to give it some opening at the back. Depends on what you want. Sometimes I've added zip before. It depends what you want. But for this particular project that I'm handling, I'm going to be giving it a curve at the back of the dress. I'm going to mark 4 inches, 4 inches thereabouts, depending on what you want. Okay, from the neck, 4 inches. Then from this point, I'm going to mark 2.5 inches for the opening, or I can make it 2. Okay, let me make it 2 inches. 2 inches. Then I will use my curve ruler. And let me cut it out. So guys, as you can see, I've finished cutting everything and I've reshaped. So the next thing is to also cut out to it, then cut on my nude matte fabric. So I will do that offline. So not to make the video too long, I've decided to just break them into pieces. So guys, I will see you in the next video.